bit nasty a few days ago when we saw fuel was going to shoot to 700, and people were saying, hey, hold on a second, yes, I know it's very expensive at 540 or 535, whatever the price may be, but I'd rather buy at that price than buy at
700.
So there was this panic buying that started, and as is always the case, you would see hoarding happening. People who had products all of a sudden were now saying, look, we're shutting our gates, we don't have products, we have closed. Because they were hoping it would actually get to 700 so they could rip off. Remember, you just speculate currencies. The next thing you know, they are telling you dollar is now selling for XYZ amount and things like that. We believe this government expects that this government should be able to create policies in such a way that, yes, there may be challenges, but Nigerians will be able to get through it. Nigerians will be able to, as they run circles around. Because look at what we're hearing now about Governor Zulum of Borno State. They acquired 8 luxury buses. You may say that's a drop in the ocean. You may say we're just cracking, but is it not better without a scratch? Exactly. And if we crack hard and long enough, if we scratch with ingenuity and sincerity of purpose, how far we could go with our efforts. Okay, so let's return to the Nation newspaper. Everyone, a big story there. It says reps probe alleged abuses of 2.3 trillion education tax by TED Fund. Presidency governors back Bamidele, Undume, Umahi. Critical stakeholders consulted, says Senate leader. How majority, minority principal officers were picked. These are all stories from the Nation newspaper. But we want to look at Daily Trust for you as well. It has a picture of the president. That's on the Daily Trust. A picture of the president, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, and then the president of the Senate right there. Okay, but the big story just above their pictures is National Assembly cracking APC as Adamu rejects Bamidele, other principal officers. Senate President, Speaker have our backing, says progressive governors. How minority leaders emerged. Again, IPOB enforces at home in Ebonyi. When last were you in the East, by the way, Judith? Have you been in the East lately?
No, I haven't. I haven't been in the East. I just passed. So I can't say anything about
I can imagine, but of course, we've all been seeing stories coming out of the East, at home, about attacks, several stories that are obviously far from pleasant.
Been everywhere.
Yes, I probably need to mention this on live television. In 2021, I got a very, as they say in politics, juicy offer, all right, to work with some government in Imo State.
Yeah.
While I was excited, all right, I was enthusiastic about that offer, I was also concerned about the security, around there. And interestingly, it hadn't gotten this bad. I'm talking about virtually 2 years ago, all right, that sort of thing. I'm only saying that to say that if as a Nigerian who has been born, raised here, I've lived my whole life in this country, all right, between the South and, South in particular, and now in the heart of the nation's capital, all right, I feel that way. I feel hesitant to want to work in a certain region, to want to work in a certain region of the country. You're wondering how much more or how much worse adverse impacts it has on intending investors. I mean, somebody in Rwanda, somebody in England, somebody in the Netherlands, somebody in Far East Asia who probably has been considering coming to the East. Again, it shows that security of lives cannot be negotiated, all right? It means that lives must be secured before you can talk about investment, you can talk about people going to school, and so on and so forth, right? No presidential directive to reopen additional borders. That's the customs talking now. I have a colleague, by the way, who has been very excited about stories around borders being reopened. And every other day is asking about...
That's because they're benefiting.
Yes, what's happening? What's happening with the borders? What does it mean when you say borders have been reopened, especially the Seme border? He's very interested. Hopefully here and there we have that conversation again after outing here on television. All right. It says court affirms Goje's dismissal from APC. Okay, those are big stories from Daily Trust. Dad sues son for stealing stepmom's money. Yeah, that's interesting, right?
And funny, actually.
Yes, it is, because it's supposed to be a family affair, isn't it? But there are fathers who feel the law should take its course.
You're correct, though.
But if you were the mother of that child, I mean, in the first instance, it's your money that got stolen. What would you do to your husband, the boy's father?
It's just funny to me. I don't know why the story seems so funny, but I don't think it's enough reason to bring it here. You know, because it's something you guys could sort out
amongst yourselves.
Yeah, you know. So I mean, be here, but however, it has happened. It has happened, and I mean, he's stolen the money. Who knows? Probably he will do better things for you tomorrow. So allow the money.
So whatever you do now, it doesn't change the fact that he's your son.
Well,
point, right?
He's my son. That's what I mean. So I can't do more than what I've just done.
Exactly.
You know,
so you're thinking the father didn't have to go that far.
Exactly.
Okay.
But you know, again, it could be the stepmother pushing the father. You know, they just said, African mentality.
That's a brilliant angle.
Yes, you know, we feel that our stepmothers most time are evil. You know, so it could be like they just want to embarrass or disgrace him.
So you're saying the man could be someone who has more than one wife. So the boy's stepmom is probably the one.
Like this boy is the spark, you know.
Like
then they want to cut his shine or something, you know.
That's some very interesting analysis, isn't it? Okay, principal officers, APC protest election National Assembly members back at Akpabio Abbas, selecting Bamidele Undome Umahi as NAS leaders. Arumo Adamu declares Senate supports President Speaker, CNWC selection. And now if you look at the that's from the Punch, by the way. I should mention we're looking at the Punch now. Okay, so when you look at the foods, that's the very end of the front page of the Punch newspaper. There are three headlines there. Customs sees 3 billion naira smuggled rice, arrests 344 smugglers. Slain UI dog buried amid tears, cleric condemns killers. Result falsification, JAM sanctions more candidates, ends Meselma's probe. Okay, so JAM has concluded the probe. All right, we understand that some other persons, in addition to the young lady, have also been suspended or banned from being able to sit for JAM. That's a UTME, as they call it. Right? Okay, so let's look at the next paper now. That's a News Direct, Nigerian News Direct. Okay, about the name, it says 2023 elections, INEC vows to prosecute 215 electoral offenders. Aaron Rex, National Assembly leadership, APC NWC, Akpabio Abbas at loggerheads. New telecom revenue assurance regime will kick off soon, NCC reviews. Okay, News Direct publishers exits, scores of gallantry had to reconcile Ibiyemi's departure. Interesting, read there on page 22 for you. We understand the deceased veteran actually lived between 1960. It was born in 1968 and he departed just this year. Quite a sad story there. 55 years. Okay, let's jump everyone to First News newspaper. Got all the First News paper. It says Baz Ejike Meselma from writing UTME for 3 years insists she forged her results. Tinubu begs Bank of America for immediate. Meselma and netizens uncover app UTME results. INEC breaks silence on allegations by observers. Of the cracks in APC over 10th NAS as Adamu rejects Akpabio as his principal officers disagree with governors. Okay, let's see at the foot of it. Yeah, you want to say something?
Yes, I'm concerned about this immediate help, begging banks of America.
Okay, like the president reaching out to them to say, look, we need to get some help from you.
Yes, because I mean, how long should we continue this way? It's been so much on us already, and you know what this does to us, right? I feel we should just start, re-strategize, do better things to generate us better incomes. You know, I mean, there are ways we could start up. I don't know, but I just feel it's better if we just sort our problems ourselves instead of when we keep borrowing. It means that we're not growing actually, because
we're not sure here whether the president is particularly talking about what they call credit line. I mean, borrowing. But again, I think the angle you're that we should look inward for solutions to our problems. As they say, solutions.
Exactly.
But you see, Nigerians, when you speak to Nigerians, whether on the streets or here on global television, on discussion programs, you have conversations around socio-economic issues. A good number of people I've talked to tend to believe that this president, I mean, I'm talking about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu now, obviously, will drive growth, will drive, economic development, prosperity.
I kind of believe too.
Exactly. But you are concerned that we'll borrow too much.
Yes.
And we've been going cap in hand.
Exactly.
To beg.
Exactly.
Yeah, we should stop that. I mean, cut it out.
Personal, you know what it means, right? We are always going to look like. I mean,
This Nigeria, that's our next paper. This Nigeria. Let's see what this Nigeria has got for us on the show this morning. So when you look at this Nigeria, just beside the nameplate, it says Nigeria's food inflation rate grows by 1.3% year on year for May. Nas how Bamidele Undume Ionveri Chinda emerged as Senate reps leaders. Senate justifies why it picked principal officers without party anointing. Electoral offenses, INEC to prosecute 215 cases as 427 lawyers offer free legal services. Kano, 5 Ghana commissioners face interrogation for alleged $1 billion fraud. PEPC, Tinubu submits U.S. varsity documents, says others, to counter Atiku's claims. INEC closes defense against OB. LP's petition rejects downloaded blood results. Those are big stories from this Nigeria. But the Sun, the Daily Sun, all right, has its own stories this morning. So let's take a look at the Daily Sun for you. Okay, beside the nameplate of the Daily Sun, it reads, Igbo holds talks with Delta governor, promise continuous investments in states. APC boils over choice of Senate's House of Reps principal officers. 2023 election, INEC admits facing challenges. Assembles 427 lawyers to prosecute 215 electoral offenses. I'm forced at this point, Judith, to ask you, when last did you vote? Did you vote at all during the last general election?
Don't do this right now. However, I did look if you must know. Anyway, I actually...
You voted, right? Don't tell me you voted, I don't want to know, but did you vote?
Well, I wasn't feeling fine at the moment, so I couldn't
you were indisposed,
exactly.
So you can
yeah,
vote.
but I did on campaign to
Okay. For the person you were convinced
exactly
was the right. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a national, that's a civic responsibility we all have. For me, I think what got me really excited about the thing, the whole election, the electoral exercise, was the months leading to the election. The enthusiasm we saw on the streets, people went to pick their PVCs. I remember I went to pick mine, by the way, because mine got washed off again. That's the conversation around the standards on the part of INEC. I don't understand how I get an ID card from my employer, it doesn't get faded out, doesn't get washed off the surface. And then INEC, an institution, gives me an ID card and it fades off, and the next thing my entire ID card becomes a plain white plastic. So I had to go. I just thought I should mention that, right? But it's the conversation itself.
But it's part of the challenge.
It is. So I decided to go back to, I followed the due process as INEC had recommended, and then I go back, yes, to go pick it up. So I get there that morning at exactly 6:20 a.m.
Beautiful. And then you stayed for how long?
Well, I was there till noon.
In Abuja, there were people that left, that left their homes already at about 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And then, I was following the videos. And 5 p.m. they're still there trying to vote.
And some of them, even in spite of all that, had to come back the next day to continue the cycle. Yeah. In my case, I thought I was early enough, 6:20 a.m. because my house was quite a stretch from the INEC local government office. I
don't know if it's okay to say this, but I have to say it. Part of the reason my father actually slumped. So I think they should
to get his PVC.
Yes. There should be more leader way we can do things,
the process
exactly shouldn't be, do you understand? Because anyway, it's not something I should do.
But basically, in my case, you see, that's one of the things. So somebody hears that story of yours now, and they're telling their...
And it wasn't just my father.
That's the point. Somebody hears that story, and they're telling their fathers, no, you're too old for this, you can't do this. So you can imagine how many persons will be disenfranchised for several reasons.
Exactly.
So I show up at 6:20 a.m. I'm applauding myself somewhere in my head because I felt I had come very early, and then I see a crowd in front of me, 6:20 a.m. All right, and this is Benin City. Just to mention, this is Benin City. And then because I didn't understand what the dynamics were, I wanted to know what the kind of, the procedure and
Yes,
everything.
how to go about
So I
it.
was asking people who were already on the ground, and the next thing I know is one person there, I walk up to him and I ask him, how does this work? What am I supposed to do? Is there a manifest I'm supposed to fill, an attendance sheet or something? I says, well, there is, but I don't know what number you will be, but I think we have done more than 60 persons already in the list. I'm like, okay, so what number are you? He says number 14. I said, when do you get here? He said, I was here at 4:35. I said, how did you do that? I said, well, my house is not very far, so it's within a trekking distance, walking distance. Like, okay, so you got here 4:35 and you are number 14.
Wow.
So you are beginning to wonder, the person who got here and became number 1, how did they sleep over? I'm saying that to buttress how enthusiastic people were because they wanted a different country, thought we could do better. Nigeria is too blessed to be where it was at the time. And when you stretch that further, you realize that it's a pointer to how much people expect from this government, in particular, because Nigerians had invested their money, their time, their blood,
resources,
and their lives.
Everything.
All right. Let's not even talk about all of the drama within, during the election. The fact that Nigerians had to even deal with cash, the Naira redesign policy and all that. They couldn't access from bank apps, all the e-channels were largely jammed.
Was extremely terrible.
So it was a difficult time for Nigerians across board. But we're happy we are not where we used to be, even though we are still far out. Yes, we're still very much far out from where we should be or where we ought to be. Okay. But let's look at a few more headlines from today's Daily Sun. Let's see, when you look at the right end of the front page, it says, probe Buhari corrupt political appointees, Archbishop urges president. Tinubu tenders academic records from Chicago University. INEC calls one witness, closes case in Obi LP's petition. Kano Anti-Graft Agency arrests Ganduje's Works Commissioner over alleged 1 billion naira fraud. FG set to introduce cancer prevention vaccine. That sounds like some relief, doesn't it? The other day it was malaria vaccine we heard of, and then now it's cancer vaccine, just like the way we kept talking about vaccine for COVID.
That would be absolutely amazing.
The cancer vaccine.
Yes, because a lot of people are going through this, especially for, I'm a woman, so I understand
how you feel
better, so this will help a lot of troubles, a lot of traumas, a lot of depression. Let me tell you my story, because, growing up, this awareness that we're hearing, I did something really funny, back in the days, and because I had it, I just felt, okay, oh yeah, let me just go check myself for something, and
let's be sure
if so this would actually help a lot of people not to do the same mistake as I did, because at the end of the day, I figured there was something, and then I insisted, even when the doctor said no, just go do some checks up, do some other to clarify and be sure that you're clean or not, before we could do but I insisted that they should go with the operation because I didn't want it to grow. But at the end of the day, it was a big mistake. It was a big mistake because it wasn't what I thought it was. So if this comes ahead of time, it means it will be a lot of relief, So I just feel it's amazing. That's why, and I intentionally said my own story so other people could learn from it.
And we also want to hope and trust that Big Pharma, as we know it, would not sideline Africa or get Africa, push Africa down to, knock us all the way down to the last rung of the ladder in terms of how such a vaccine will be distributed and how availability will be addressed in this regard. We're going to take a quick break right now, everyone. When we return, Global Morning continues with the newspaper review. Stay with us.
I am for everybody, I am for nobody.
No, you not talk about me.
No, in another way.
How are you sure, sir?
Keep quiet. I am in another way. I am for everybody, I am for nobody.
The only area where Buhari defeat for that statement, now only a project. When you're talking about project, the project is where I'm talking. say you need to spell out. What was this story now? For you see appointment. And in that type of appointment, you appoint people you trust. But if you like the man, I'm ready to say that when our leaders are the government, you know what I'm saying? When they get the position, then. Why not no come win it? Why not no win it? Get the victory in our enemy. Your enemy is
Well, thank you for staying with us, everyone. Let's return to the papers now, but this time to the Guardian newspaper. Let's take a look at the Guardian and just see the stories above the nameplate there. Tinubu Shettima opened defense today in OBLP's petition. Imperative of separating AGF from Justice Minister. Incidentally, I interviewed the lawyer in 2020, and this was part of the insights that he shared on that discussion on live television virtually 3 years ago. They need to, if you like, unbundle the Ministry of Justice, then of course the Office of the Attorney General altogether in such a way that the Office of the Attorney General becomes a standalone entity while you now have Ministry of Justice manned, of course, by a minister, apparently. But I'm not a lawyer, so at least not yet. All right, so I don't have a hang of what the dynamics are around it. I understand there would naturally be, as they call it, an act of parliament to be able to make that happen. But I've spoken with lawyers who have been here long enough in the legal practice to understand how that this is imperative. This is something that should be done, is the way to go, basically, because they believe, by their own assessments, that if you like, that's bundling, that combo of the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice. Right, it's too humongous to put in the hands. I mean, the power that comes with it is too humongous to put in the hands of one man. They say it makes the AGF, who obviously doubles as the Minister of Justice, such a powerful man that he becomes the de facto president. Maybe lawyers can help us throw more light on that in the days ahead on this program, when we'll begin our program that focuses on legal matters in such a way that we begin to understand whether or not the AGF is actually the president's lawyer or an attorney for the country, because it goes without saying, he's the Attorney General of the Federation. But what we are seeing for the most part is the AGF appears to be more of the president's lawyer. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer yet, so we'll talk about that. All right.
Correct.
So yes, let's take a look at a few more headlines on today's Guardian newspaper. At the foot of it, it says Tinubu Adamu's Cold War worsens as Akpabio Abbas appoints principal officers. Over 400 Kuje escapees yet to be captured 1 year after prison break. You know, there's this series called Prison Break. My friend and I were extremely excited about it. I think we were head over heels in love with the series back in the day. You know, I don't want to share what we had to do just to follow that series then. But it ended there with just the movies, with just the drama. But now we're seeing Prison Breaks becoming a phenomenon in Nigeria. And just imagine this story. It says over 400 escapees from Kuje prison yet to be recaptured, you know, after 1 year. That naturally raises concerns.
Of course.
Because you're wondering, where have they been? What have they been
Who has been hiding them?
Yes, exactly.
You know,
have they
who
gone
are
back
the
to
people
crime?
hiding them?
Yes. So
that's my major concern, because I mean, this is Nigeria. Like they said, anything goes right.
And the fear that we are not even so sure whether they can be recaptured and how soon that will happen, and how much mischief they would have been up to the entire time. I mean, this 1 year. Yes, and 1 year is a long time.
Yeah, a very long time, and then you're still saying you don't have them to recapture.
Right.
Really?
Okay, so it means we have a lot of work on our hands, don't we? Okay, let's look at the last headline from the Guardian newspaper. It's at the very foot of the paper, front cover. Says Huriwa accuses JAM of violating Mesoma's rights once management probed. You can read the details of that story for yourself on page 4 if you pick up a copy of the Guardian newspaper this morning. But we want to take a look at the This Day newspaper as well. Let's see This Day newspaper All right. It says at the very top of it, above the nameplate, Afrexim Bank moves to domesticate intra-African payment system. Makinde will unite Fashoranti Adebanjo in Yoruba's interest, on page 34 of this day newspaper. Yakubu, 2023 elections outcome fair reflection of multi-party democracy. 10th Senate, Bamidele is new Senate leader. Wankwom leads minority. IG orders deployment of 35 CPs to state commands formations. All right. But then, who says we can also look at the Nigerian Tribune quickly? At the top of it, of the Nigerian Tribune, it says Makinde present as Afenifere leaders meet to unite Adebanjo Fashoranti. 2023 elections, why INEC won't respond to EU reports, Atiku Obi Yakubu. It says police findings.
Let me ask,
yeah,
sorry,
you want to say that?
Why won't they respond? What's the reason? Why shouldn't they? Are they not supposed to respond though?
Well, INEC ideally should respond, but I think they're already responding. Again, maybe I don't know what they mean by respond, because here the headline says 2023 elections, why INEC won't respond to EU reports. Atiku Obi, that's Yakubu, that's the chairman of the commission here talking. But I also know that whether you want to call it response or not, he had acknowledged that yes, Nigeria is a multi-dimensional, kind of system that conducting. I mean, the manner in which these elections were conducted, the 2023 general elections, and the outcome are a pointer to how, what's the word I'm looking for now, how composite that, our system is. All right. So he's saying the outcomes were fair. So he's scoring the commission fairly on the outcomes and all of the work they put in and so on and so forth. But again, Nigerians, inclusive, let's not just make it an EU thing, Nigerians have also been questioning the process, or the election.
Because a lot of people think it was
Beavers, Arab, several things that INEC has said they would do that they didn't do, that they couldn't do. I think Nigerians want to come to a point where institutions would say, we want to do 5 things, X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, all right? And then when it's all said and done, they come back and they tell you, well, we actually had promised we'll do 5 things, A, B, C, D, E, but then we encountered these and these challenges and we couldn't do those things.
Exactly.
And we apologize, and then we promise going forward between this time and this time with the timeline, with specifics in terms of details and information. We will do this and this. You see, institutions have to be as responsible as we expect individuals to be. When people come late to work, we sanction them.
Sure.
We have some kind of internal mechanisms that we evoke, that we deploy. We should also do the same with institutions. For example, I was just telling somebody, speaking with a colleague at about dinner time yesterday. I said, let's just paint a scenario where it turns out that JAMB actually had an issue with their systems. That's the reason we are having this Mercy or Mass case. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Will JAMB come out and apologize to the lady? Will JAMB, man enough, and come on national television, go to newspapers and say, look, there's a mix-up somewhere, and we take the responsibility for it? We thought it was like this and like this, but we have realized that it's actually like that and like that. We apologize. As we speak, we are working hard on our systems to clean up our database. We are re-engineering our technology, the systems that we use. In fact, we have even had to fire XYZ. We've suspended XYZ. We've queried this and this persons. And we promise Nigerians, and indeed
way forward,
those who take our exams, who use our platforms, that this will never repeat itself. Can we have the registrar of JAMB do that, for example?
Oh, yes.
You said the thing is, we need to have institutions that lead by example. We don't have that in Nigeria. We can lie to ourselves all we want to, but we need to get to that point where, in this instant case, the INEC chairman himself can come out and say, yes, there was a session of the elections, that were marred by fraud. And we have also been able to identify in specific terms who those persons were, how those systems were put in place, because INEC as an institution, as the umpire, will never tolerate. In fact, we have zero tolerance for fraud. And we want to prove that to Nigeria, and as such, we have taken these actions. Therefore, going forward, this will never repeat itself again, and we stand by our word. We want Nigerians to hold us responsible. We have to get there.
That's the right thing to do. However, like you said, Nigeria would would we do it? You know, because we have a lot of things to look at, you know, and I mean, this example you just cited is actually is one of
Okay,
it,
so
you know,
let's talk about money for a minute, everyone. Let's look at Business Day newspaper for you as we jump to Business Day now. On the front cover, you have a big story that says how Nigerian leaders failed to rein in governance costs. I've spent maybe about 40% of my time, of my media career discussing cutting cost of governance. So at some point I'm at crossroads as to what are the elements I have not talked about, I have not discussed, we have not had conversations about cutting cost of governance, you know, and so on and so forth. Like we had people raising questions about 100 vehicle convoy around the president in Lagos when he just touched down, having been in the UK on a private visit. All right, I know of a state, for example, where the governor kept talking about how that the state was broke, the state was cash-strapped, the state was financially challenged, but the governor was flying helicopter every other day. He got the opportunity to do so. You see, we can always find a way to explain those things, but people are watching. And you see, sometimes, even when you have the best intention, the impression that people have will trump that intention. That's your intention. That's the intention of your heart. But the impression they eventually get from it on account of your approach to doing that good, to showing them that generosity, can even become more of an issue than whatever it was you planned doing for them. All right, Judith, I'm afraid this is where we're going to leave the program this morning. Okay. Yeah, this is where we normally leave it on the show every other morning. I want to say thank you, Judith, for taking out time to be here on a very short notice.
And of course, you look great.
Thank you. Thank you. She's giving me cause to have a big portion of lunch today. Okay. I want to say a big thank you as well to all of our viewers for investing a part of your time. That's how we see it here at Global Television. We believe when you spend time with us, it's an investment, and we owe you a duty to give you return on that investment. Okay, and we are Mofwegbe. This is where we'll leave it. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.